Making headlines tonight. Tonight on TV47 Weekend, Jubilee Deputy Chair David Murathe grilled by EACC officials over KEMSA scandal. Murathe now links Deputy President William Ruto's allies to the scandal. Senators hit back. Senate's Public Accounts Committee hits back at governors who are accusing the Watchdog Committee of harassment and intimidating governors. Maranga's Mwangi Wairia has refused to be grilled by the committee. Fighting graft. DPP is now after the Rakanidi Mutho Minjuki and Larry Member of Parliament John Mburu. The two are accused of corruption in their respective areas. And Friday means good vibes. Tonight, our reporters look at the positive stories around you. You don't want to miss that. A very warm welcome on TV47 Weekend. My name is Mombi Chege. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Anne Wairimo. Now, Treasury now says its hands are tied in releasing funds to the county after the delay on the disputed revenue sharing formula. This comes as leaders continue to blame the Senate for failing to pass the third generation formula. Joash Onsare with the details.
County functions have continued to stall as the County Revenue Division remain a riddle for 12 committee senators tasked to resolve the dispute. COG has already threatened to shut down the counties if the monies are not released before the 17th of this month.
Meamua kufika tarehe 17 kama tujapata pesa tutafunga kaunti zote. Alafu wafanyakazi waende nyumbani kwa likizo mpaka wakati tutapata hizo pesa.
Kieni MP, who is also the chair of the Budget Committee in the National Assembly, Kanini Kega, is however accusing a section of senators for derailing the stalemate. Kega says the senators have received bribe from governors in the northern counties to stall the revenue formula standoff.
The chairman of Budget, I am privy to some of the dealings that are happening in the Senate. One is a question of 2022. It has this formula has nothing. The OMPAS has nothing to do with the issues raised. It's about 2022. And the second one, money has been changing hands. And we want to challenge the senators.
Many counties are yet to pay their staff, with many projects already put on hold. Governors now threatening to table a motion to dissolve the Senate.
We have put Senate on notice that they are going to make our counties actually unable to offer any services.
Laikipia governor has said if the Senate intended to solve the revenue formula, could have done so.
So if the Senate was doing its job, it would have simply passed the county allocation of revenue bill using the existing second formula. The Constitution commands them that by April, meaning April of 2020, that is 5 months ago, they must introduce and pass a county allocation of revenue bill.
The 12-member select committee is yet to agree on the revenue formula. Joash Onsare, TV47.
And Jubilee Party Vice Chairman David Murathe has asked the EACC to investigate Deputy President William Ruto in the ongoing probe into KEMSA saga. Murathe says close associates of the Deputy President William Ruto are beneficiaries of multi-million tenders at KEMSA through Kilig Company. And as Eli Logova reports, the KEMSA saga continues to take new shapes as a section of senators threaten to present a censure motion to push for the resignation of Health CS Mutahi Kagwe and his PS Susan Muchacha to pave way for investigations into the scandal.
After close to 5 hours with EACC officials over the ongoing investigations into the procurement irregularities at KEMSA, Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe was quick to distance himself from participating in the multi-billion tenders at KEMSA through Kilik Company. Murathe now wants the anti-graft body to summon former Senators Boni Khalwale and Johnston Muthama and other individuals whom he says are beneficiaries of the KEMSA scandal.
We've got evidence that Will Broad transferred shareholding of this company to associates of the Deputy President. So I have given my piece and I have demanded anybody who has raised or commented or purported to know the COVID billionaires and who stole what. I have demanded that they should be summoned, starting with the Deputy President and the politicians like Khalwale, like Muthama, and the bloggers like Robert Alai, Tony Gashoka. They should all come here and assist the investigations.
Murathe maintains that Deputy President William Ruto should be summoned to give evidence on the actions of his close allies whom he alleged were involved in the KEMSA tenders through Kilik Company. He says he has enough evidence to prove that the second in command participated in the saga.
I am expecting very soon that they will also be calling the Deputy President to come and make his statement in regards to what he knows about the association of his partners with Kilik. Because I am being dragged into this issue because of my association with William or Wilbrod Gatei.
A section of senators allied to Deputy President William Ruto are preparing to table a censure motion in the National Assembly for the removal of Health CS Mutahi Kagwe and his PS Susan Mochache. Led by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, the senators say they are working closely with their counterparts in the National Assembly to ensure they kick the two out of office in order to pave way for investigations.
We are working consumptively, having printed the Hansard from the Senate proceedings last week to be transmitted to the National Assembly so that the proper censure motion can be tabled against the two.
Meanwhile, members of parliament allied to Deputy President William Ruto have accused the president of double standards in the fight against corruption, claiming that most of the directors in the companies that were awarded tenders are relatives and friends close to the president and his associates. The MPs have challenged the president to ensure all the individuals and companies mentioned are prosecuted fairly.
Tunajua makampuni supply huko ni mingi sana, lakini kuna makampuni tutataja chache kama makampuni 6 yenye tunataka tuambie rais Uhuru Kenyatta mwenyewe mwenye inji, custodian, sio mwenye inji, custodian ya mwenye inji kwa sasa. Mwenye anasimamanga kila siku na akituambia kituleke maneno ya corruption, na tulimwambia hii corruption yako ni fake. Tunataka tumwambie vizuri sana. Kwa hii tunataka your cousins and your nephews lazima wapie kotini, tutajua ya kwamba unapigana kweli na ufisadi.
KEMSA board and suspended CEO Jonah Manjari were agreed by Parliament Health Committee. Eddie Logova, TV47.
Now, the Senate County Public Accounts and Investment Committee has hit back at governors who had accused the committee of extorting bribes from the county bosses. The committee says it will remain unbowed in its oversight mandate. Elizabeth Mutuku with the details.
A day after the Council of Governors Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya accused the Senate Public Accounts and Investment Committee for extorting governors appearing before the committee, the Watchdog Committee has hit back. Committee Chairman Professor Sam Ongeri says they will go on with their oversight mandate, rubbishing the claims by the county bosses.
Before us, he has taken a dangerous path of castigating aspersions on the integrity of the committee. We shall not be blackmailed, threatened, or our integrity murdered by a few governors who are afraid to account for the many billions in their disposal.
The Council of Governors accused the committee of threatening governors and extorting bribes from them while appearing before the Senate Committee for accountability purposes. Addressing the media at Parliament Buildings, Ongeri pointed out at Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, who has refused to appear before the committee. The committee had directed the Office of Inspector General Hilary Mutyambai to arrest and present Governor wa Iria, a directive which has been slowed by High Court by order ordering the committee against harassing Wairia.
That those who have had the occasion to be summoned to this Senate committee have all appeared. The only one who has not appeared is the governor of Murang'a. And God willing, we're waiting for him on 10th under instruction by the IG Inspector General to bring him here to account. We have no personal vendetta with him.
This comes amidst claims by COG Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya that governors won't be appearing before the committee for fear of being extorted and COVID-19.
Imefika wakasema sasa tuwe tunaenda huko. Na tunajua kwa nini wanataka tuende huko fiscally. Yale mambo ambao wanasema leta transport, fanya hivi. Lakini sisi tunasema tunajua wakati wengi wetu wamefika kile miaka ambao ziko vulnerable kwa mambo ya COVID.
The CPIC committee is mandated to oversight expenditure of the county funds. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi. A day.
Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko has told off Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen for criticizing the president. Tobiko says that President Uhuru Kenyatta deserves respect from all, including DP William Ruto. Murkomen had accused the CS for disrespecting the deputy president after Tobiko, alongside Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and his health counterpart Mutahi Kagwe, criticized Ruto's meetings that they termed as early campaigns.
Yenu ni kukata na mtaki kujua kwanza Murkomen yeye awe na adabu, kwa sababu hana adabu kabisa. Murkomen amekuwa kama ni yeye tu ndiye anajua kuongea na kutukana watu na kutukana viongozi wengine na kutukana rais. So muambie na nyinyi watu wa television, muambie Murkomen mumfikishe awe na adabu na muheshimu rais wa Kenya hii. Na hata huyo mkubwa wake ni karani wa rais. Si ni karani wa rais? The deputy president is a clerk, who should be a clerk, assistant to a president. Na vile mimi na mheshimu rais wangu ambao mimi ni clerk wake, karani wake, hata huyo deputy na huyo Murkomen wa mheshimu rais. Respect is cuts both ways. It's a two-way traffic. Right? So if you don't respect the president of the Republic of Kenya, you do not deserve to be respected by anyone.
Now, Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya has dismissed impeachment threats by a section of members of the County Assembly. A section of MCAs are plotting to file an impeachment motion against the governor. The county boss says the threats are hot air that can't move him.
The other day I heard someone saying that they want to impeach me, so I was wondering if that person has capacity. You know, sometimes people, when they are from a drinking spree, they just make statements that cannot hold water. Anyway, there is the freedom of speech. People are free to say what they want, but sometimes say what you can do, not just what people can hear. Yeah. But Majority Leader, thank you very much. You have kept Assembly together, plus the others. You have kept the Assembly together. That's the way we want to move. And if we move that way, we will be able to finish the project that we have planned.
Many thanks for staying with us here on TV47 Weekend. Let's take a short breather. We'll be back with more in just a moment, including good vibes. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, has launched the nationwide third public service remuneration review cycle for the period of 2021-2022 and 2024-2025. The Commission says the remuneration cycle shall be informed by public service job evaluation exercise, which shall cover jobs from the President to the lowest cadre from both state and public officers in both national and county governments.
Shall achieve a productive public service that is fairly remunerated in a fiscally sustainable manner. Thank you. You cannot hear.
Now, if you have any questions, okay, so we will have it on this side, and then your name. My name is Manju from KTN News. Is this evaluation going to touch on the salaries of the President or the MPs and any other details about the integrity of the review? Okay, let's take another one. My name is Victor Kibra from NGV Kenya. Of course, you mentioned in the last bit of your speech the elephant in the room is owning a public sector wage bill. And of course, the idea with the reviews to ensure every civil servant.
And more than 200 families in Baraget area, Kuresoi South, are at risk of losing their homes after the Kenya Forest Services put up new beacons, drawing new cut line deep into the homes. The residents are now protesting, arguing that KFS moved the boundaries, as Rahab Kinothia now reports.
Residents of Baraget area in Kuresoi South were left in utter shock after the Kenya Forest officers arrived in the area and put up new beacon marking the Mau Forest cut line deep into their homes and farms.
Tuliletwa hapa mwaka wa 1999. Wakati tuliletwa hapa, tuliletwa na Moi. Sasa juzi kufika, tunaambiwa tena ati tutoke tena hapa kwa shamba. Sasa tukashindwa ni nini, tunatolewa tena na tuliletwa na rasmi mpaka nini na serikali.
The affected say that their title deeds have been dismissed as mere papers by the officers from the Kenya Forest.
Tukiambia title deeds tuko nayo, natembea nasema ni karatasi. Na tunashindwa kama hii president ya kwanza walikuwa wanatupea makaratasi ya nini basi atupe? Tungekaa bure bila title deed basi.
The residents are now questioning the government, adding that they already have development projects like electricity and schools, yet they are being moved by the same government.
Tulikuja alileta sisi na serikali ya Moi. Na alikuja kupea sisi title kwa huko Longuruoni. Na ure anaitwa nini Sabei Kinanda akapea sisi akakuja kugawanya hii mashamba. Sai bwana serikali angalia sisi sai amesongezwa tena mpaka hapa katikati ya hiyo shamba. Sisi serikali tutaenda wapi? Tuko na watoto, tulitokea huko Rare watu aliuliwa watu wengi mpaka akachimba simba kubwa akaweka watu yote hapa ndani. Serikali nyinyi angalia sisi, tutalia mpaka siku gani? Tutaenda wapi? Angalia sisi we rise.
The Mau eviction process was temporarily stopped by a Nakuru court on July 21st until a case filed by locals is heard and determined. Local leaders and residents were demanding that KFS officials show them the boundaries. Reporting for TV47 in Baraget area, Kuresoi South, my name is Rahab Kinothia.
A very warm welcome back to TV47 Weekend. It's that time of the night. It's good vibes, and we have our reporters with us, Zainab Mohammed, and of course David Mudoka. Will be discussing some of the positive stories that have been happening around you amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, you can also give us your feedback on Facebook, TV47 Kenya, and on Twitter at TV47 KE. But before we get to that, let's take another story here. KCA University, in partnership with Cooperative Bank and Rentco Africa, have launched student laptop loan project worth 50 million shillings. The program is a long-term lease project to students funded by Cooperative Bank. The program is aimed at supporting the students in their virtual engagement mode of study during the COVID-19.
Number of students who are coming here from the rural area, Korogocho, don't have a laptop. So we are now facilitating, making it easier for them to buy. The bank floats the money. This team manage it so that university is not the one managing it. The relationship between the student is going to be with these guys. But we facilitate. We acknowledge the student is here. They are our students, and we make sure they're paying.
What we're offering is a solution that, as you said, that has moving parts that ensure that this solution works for the student.
In future, we're looking to expand this to many other universities. I think education is one of the growing sectors and require a lot of financial support from the financiers. And Cooperative Bank is one of the financial institutions that's really willing to partner with the universities to ensure that each and every student gets quality education.
Welcome back. Now let's get to good vibes. And now, in the advent of the coronavirus pandemic, the government announced plans to introduce cashless mobile transfers in PSVs to curb the spread of the disease. This has led to innovations that have seen handling of solid cash in matatus gradually fade away, with the government in a race against time to implement the cashless system. Our reporter David Mudoka interacted with a group of software developers who have invented a software that facilitates the system and filed the following report.
As the COVID-19 pandemic spread like wildfire in the country 2 months ago, the government began plans to scrap off handling of solid money in public service vehicles in a bid to stop the spread of the virus. This coming in the backdrop of incessant complaints that solid money transactions in matatus was doing more harm than good. And with the government working round the clock to introduce a cashless mode of payment in PSVs, we meet two software developers who are the brains behind Abiria app, a software application that facilitates a passenger-based fare payment system. In a bid to understand how the application works, we take the application literally on a road test. It is in this Utawala-bound Metro Trans bus, one of the many buses to have adopted the Abiria application, where we try the app. Well, after a few minutes drive from the point of origin, that's when most people pay their bus fares. And today is not different. And perhaps you're expecting me to dig deep into my pockets and use some hard cash to pay my bus fare. Well, we are living in abnormal times, and today my mode of payment is not so normal. I'm going to use my phone to execute that payment, and at the touch of my screen, my fare and that of my camera person Shadrach Kiplangat is going to be taken care of. Here is that process. Upon logging into the Abiria application, the next step is to select the bus a passenger has boarded. The next step is to confirm the destination, in our case Utawala, and automatically the fare pops up, eliminating impromptu hiking of fares that has remained an Achilles heel in the matatu sector. One is then required to confirm the number of passengers, then finally it is time to confirm payment, and in no time that payment is a done and dusted deal. The app developer Edward Muturi takes us through the conception of the app that has since gained traction during these COVID-19 times.
Taxis inatokea like umeona like hiyo time ndio like sasa tena kina what are these, is it Uber and Little Cab and kina Bolt zimetokea, but mostly zina focus on taxi. So I was like, kwa nini hype yote imepelekwa saidi ya private.
According to Edward's partner Monica Oyugi, limiting the spread of COVID-19 is just but the icing on the cake on the numerous benefits that passengers and matatu operators stand to reap from the application.
The moment you get into a matatu as a passenger, you pay in the mat. You don't have to key in the price. It's pinned there. So you just have to state from where you're going to your destination.
The software that has been touted a revolution in cash transfer systems in matatus has further been welcomed with open arms by passengers and matatu operators.
Nimekuwa nikitumia abiria for 3-4 weeks sasa, and so far imekuwa poa sana. It has helped with me tracking my trips.
Unapata pia ina save time sababu abiria atakutumia exactly as in kama ni 100 atakutumia 100, so hautatoka kwa magari ukitafuta change.
Bado inasaidia bado sana, like hata privacy ya modhi huwezi jua namba yake, unacheki huwezi jua namba ya modhi juu iko na 07 something xxxx na namba za mwisho.
We finally arrive in Utawala without breaking a sweat, courtesy of mobile money transfer to pay our fare. This as that system continues to gain popularity in the country among drivers and passengers. David Muthoka, TV47 at Utawala, Nairobi.
Thank you so much for that report, David Muthoka. And Muthoka is here with me, as well as Zainab Mohammed. Good to have you tonight, guys, on Good Vibes. Muthoka, let's start with you. Your story, really, really amazing, seeing the youth coming up with, creative ways. Technology has really done amazing things and continues to bring in new things in terms of technology, yeah?
Well, Mumbi, first things first, it feels good to be back to Good Vibes after a 1 week break. We are here again to give our viewers that Good Vibes dose, and it's a pleasure having us here. Well, so this week I embarked on a story. We understand that the government 2 months back decided to gradually scrap off what we call handling of solid money within matatus, because that was seen as one key component that facilitated a very faster spread of COVID-19. And now the government was banking on software developers and IT gurus to come up with softwares that will now enable cashless transactions within these matatus. I caught up with these two young men, a boy and a girl, who were straight out of school just a few years back and who are doing great things, and they've been able now to come up with this application called Abiria, which enables you, once you're in a matatu, you don't need to have solid cash on you, but you can reach to your destination definitely without breaking a sweat.
Amazing. Zainab, what do you think about that story? And there's one thing I noted, Muthoka, like you can't reverse the money. And I know a lot of people have gone through that, whereby people have paid or made a payment, in a matatu or even elsewhere, and then end up reversing the money. That can happen, can it?
Well, Mumbi, as I was talking to the two software developers, they told me that their application is more of a modification and improvement of previous applications that have existed before, because there have been attempts now to make transport in public vehicles as cashless as possible. Well, most have failed, but with time they've come to see what are the gaps that we need to address. Right. And now they try to make sure that this particular application meets both demands for the passenger and now the matatu operator. Now, matatu operators stand to benefit because previously they used to complain that when somebody uses a mobile money transfer, and popularly known as M-Pesa, moments later they decide to reverse that payment, and now these matatu people stand to lose. But then through this application you cannot reverse. And then the other benefit for these matatu people is that once this payment is done, they don't need to run around looking for change, especially in instances where customers carry a huge chance of money to pay. Mumbi.
Awesome. Zainab?
Well, first of all, it's good to be back on Good Vibes after a while.
After a really long
Yes. First of all, about the story, I think it's a smart move. The fact that the benefits that Muthoka talked about in terms of you can't reverse money, it's able to hide your number. you know, I've seen these instances in a matatu where you need to pay via M-Pesa, especially during this COVID-19 times where we are told, you know, handling money could get you coronavirus. So there's that fear and phobia. So you need to give the matatu, like the conductor, your phone so that they can input their number. Then you have to tell them if your full name so that they can confirm if there any. So I think it's a messy affair, and this app will be able to reduce that kind of you know, the messiness and the cumbersome process whereby you have to, and then if you know Kenyan matatus, you would find that there's very loud music involved whenever you're in the matatu. So even getting that number is quite a hassle. You can't even hear.
Right,
so
yeah. And also, even like you mentioned, just giving the conductor your phone, giving it back. Maybe you're seated at the very back, passing the phone. I mean, it's risky. I mean,
you know, even
really,
yes, exactly. Nairobi, my friend, your phone, you're in town and you're doing that, and the window is open. Other people will be using that phone by the end of the night. So
yeah, Mumbi. And you know, as I was doing this story, I discovered two interesting stories that stood out. One was from the software developer, the lady Monica Oyugi. She was telling me that at one point she used mobile money transfer to pay the conductor her fare. And what happened after she alighted and, you know, went about her business, she started to receive very funny phone calls from the conductor, trying to, you know, catch up with how she's been faring on. And then another passenger was telling me through this app, one time she lost her goods, her luggage, but she was able to trace the particular registration number of the bus she boarded, and, you know, she was able to trace what she'd lost. So I think it's, you know, a fresh start.
I didn't know it was a way for the boy child to slide in the DM. Wow.
All right, Zainab, thank you so much for that. We'll come back and you'll tell us a bit about your story, Zainab, but let's first take that story. Now, a group of conservationists in Kibra have come up with a creative way of purifying sewage contaminated water into clean and safe water. The process that is technologically enabled now serves millions of Kibra residents at a dire time of COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
At the heart of Kibra slums is Kamukunji area. We arrive here at around noon, and the first sights are groups of women carrying yellow jerrycans heading to different directions. At a closer look, we see different water points where the residents are seemingly getting water from. It's strange, as most areas in Nairobi have access to flowing tap water supplied by the Nairobi City Council. But there is no sight of this at the capital's biggest slum. At this particular water point, we meet environmentalist Johnston Mutua. Mutua is part of a group of environmentalists who have had enough with the water problem in the area, hence starting a technologically run water sanitation program.
We have a water project that is supplied by a bowl. We have a bowl at the site. And normally with informal settlements where there's a lot of drainage and waste, most of underground water is contaminated. And mostly it has high fluorides and nitrates. So we have a filtration plant, a water purification system that purifies the water after it's obtained from the bowl.
To my utter surprise, Mutua tells me Kibra, like many informal settlements in Nairobi, does not have access to the Nairobi City Council water.
The county does not have pipeline into the slums. Normally they have a pipeline that at the edge. At Kibra they have a pipeline near the showgrounds.
Mutua further tells me there are people whom he refers to as water cartels who took advantage of the water situation in the area to sell clean water to the residents from as high as 15 to 20 shillings per jerrycan, rendering the low-income earners in the area helpless.
The water cartels, or popularly known as informal water provider, these are people, individuals, who tap water from Nairobi Water County. Because there's a gap, of course, the people who tap into that water and distribute it through underground plastic water pipes they have a water point. They have water points. So normally what happens with these pipes, the pipe is not being plastic and running along the roads where people walk on them, and also across sewer lines and drainages.
He and fellow environmentalists, through a Giving Back to the Community project, have come up with a fully technologically operated water system to rescue the dire situation that was turning tragic during these COVID-19 times. The group transforms sewage-contaminated water to a health-certified safe-to-use water for the residents. The process that uses several machines to ensure maximum safety of the end product is run by experts and the water tested in a lab from time to time.
We do water quality analysis. Every month we take our water to Warma laboratories. They do full chemical analysis and bacteriology tests, and we can confirm, we have tests confirming that our water is of high quality. It means CAPE standards.
According to Mutua, the sanitation process is not all that is to be marveled about. The system has further been automated into an ATM-like technology where the residents swipe a chip to access the water 24/7, a process that was necessary in order to ensure the so-called water cartels don't broker between the group's purified water and the consumer residents. They say real change starts with you, and for Johnston and his group, a collected effort of like-minded people is now making a huge difference and changing thousands of lives in an area where everybody is but for themselves. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Thank you so much for that report, Zainab. Tell us more about that story.
Well, the story, Mumbi, as you've all seen, it's about a group of environmentalists who decided that enough is enough. They've had it at Kibra, the water problem, the city council water does not get to the slums. There are water cartels who are selling the water at a very high price. So this group of environmentalists decided they need to make a change, and that's how they started the process of the process of purifying sewage water to enable sewage water in order to become clean water. Mudoka was asking me, you actually mean that water that we were seeing on the ground is the water that the kid is drinking at the end? So yeah, it's a magical process.
Absolutely, Zainab. You know, I could not believe my eyes. That metamorphosis from that water, let me call it dirty, that runs on the ground, that water which I assume people try to, you know, jump across because it could be contaminated, is the same water, sparkless, clean, that same water that people, you know, depend on to quench their thirst. It's amazing.
And might I add, Mutua was telling us, you know, one of the environmentalists, he was telling us that that water can actually be placed in like mineral water in the bottles and be bottled and be sold. So that's how clean it is, and they usually test it in a lab.
It's good work by Mutua. I don't know his passion behind it, but I don't want to put that on his second name because perhaps I can relate. But Canvas have a thing for preserving water.
And what's really amazing is that most of the stories that we're doing that have a lot to do with technology and even doing good in the society, you know, it's the youths who are doing this. I mean, they have, I guess, during this COVID-19 pandemic time, a lot of people have a lot of free time, you know, on their hands. So it's really good to see youths taking or utilizing this time to do good in the society. So quite amazing. Also about the water, the government is supposed to be doing this, but
I know I was really shocked.
This is the work of the government,
shocked.
But
you think that water running, like you going to a tap and opening the tap and getting running water is just, you know, a normal thing, but imagine
amazing.
You know, even at the start of COVID-19, the government was announcing that it's going to roll out a plan that will ensure that almost every homestead within Nairobi gets tap water. Well, we don't know where that tap water has gone.
Right.
Maybe because Kibra could be as congested as we all know. But I know Mutua's intervention is quite a
Quite amazing. Thank you so much. Right. Time's not on our side, but let's take another story here. Street urchins in Eldoret town are engaging in horticultural farming along River Sosiani to make a kiln. Now, according to those who spoke to Calvin Chitwa, they want to help their colleagues, aid them, and give the society a picture that they too can contribute to the nation's growth.
It is an area feared by many residents of Eldoret due to insecurity cases. Many street family members spend their day along this river, while criminals use it as their hideouts, camouflaging as street families. But along River Sosiani, two street boys, Wycliffe Voyo and Swale Koech, are leading their colleagues who have turned into farming to eke out a living.
Kisema tukae bure tutaumia. Sasa tukaamua tulime mboga kidogo, wengine wanapanda nepia, wengine wanapanda mboga, wengine tunapanda bambu. Tuko mpaka na seedbed, tunatuta tena hii bambu. Sasa ndio kazi huwa tunafanya hapa.
Tumekaanga tuna kazi. Kuliko kaaga kwa street, tukaona tukuje hapa, kuna maji hapa, tukaona tuanzishe hii mradi.
Their dedication is now giving street families a new image, apart from keeping them busy and empowering one another. They plant crops ranging from sukuma wiki, cassava, potatoes, fruits, napier grass, among others.
Mboga saizi unaivunja na unadunga chini peke yake, inamea. Baada ya mwezi moja mbili unapata kitu imemea na imekuwa kubwa.
Tulisuia mambo mingi hapa kitambo, ilikuwa mbaya, ilikuwa wisi iko juu. Ungeweza fika hapa sasa hivi. So kungarisha huku tutoe uchafu.
A plea from these street family members is for the government to come up with clear strategies and policies that will empower them and also help them be part of nation building. Their leader and those among them who have reformed say many of them can be productive if supported by the society.
Wamepanda mboga, wamepanda kila aina ya vegetation hapa chini, mpaka passion fruit, na zinafanya vizuri sana. Dalili tosha ya kwamba vijana wanataka na wamechoka na maisha kuishi kwa street. Wanataka mabadiliko ya kimaisha.
They have urged the government to help them get identity cards.
National government isaidia vijana. Kuna vitambulisho vijana imekwama kule juu. Wengi walimiss kazi mtaani, ili wale wengine ambao wamebaki pale state pia nao wakipata vitambulisho waweze kupata kazi, ili tuweze kumalisha mambo ya vijana mtaani.
Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Uasin Gishu County.
Thank you so much for that story, Calvin Chitwa. Let's start with you, Zainab. What are your views on that story?
Mumbi, I think it's quite an impressive project. Mudoka, what do you think?
Well, Chitwa does not disappoint with his stories, so I'm quite amazed by his story that he's decided to do this time round. It's quite good to see this, what he calls street urchins, do something meaningful to the society, and perhaps it's time the government hears their plea, their cry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Calvin Chitwa, for your good vibes story. Thank you so much, Zainab and Mudoka, and I hope to see you next weekend on
Definitely.
Good Vibes. All right, now let's go back to matters graft. Director of Public Prosecutions Nordin Haji has ordered for the arrest of Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki alongside 3 others for flouting laws, among other charges. Meanwhile, Larry Member of Parliament John Amburu has been arrested alongside 4 county officials after Haji said he was satisfied by the evidence produced by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC), which showed that Mburu irregularly received over 27 million shillings from the CDF kitty. Through a statement, Nordin Haji is seeking the prosecution of the 3 officers alongside Governor Muthomi Njuki over a 34.9 million shillings tender allegedly awarded irregularly. The officers include Chief Officer of Environment Frida Muthoni, Acting Director of Procurement Florida Murungi, and Finance Officer Haiton Njue. Among the companies that submitted their bid for their tender, most of which were closely associated with the governor, include Jolive Merchants Limited, Gentech Supplies and Services Limited, Westermarks Investment Limited, Kenrick Investment Limited, Grace Spiro, Boiler Techniques Engineering Limited, and Plansa Limited. Nordin Haji says Westermax Investment Limited, which had produced fraudulent documents, won the tender at a cost of close to 35 million shillings. The money was then transferred to individuals identified as Japheth Gitonga, Kenstar Electrical and Hardware Limited, and Caroline Sheila Wambui. Elsewhere, Haji has also ordered for the arrest of Larry Member of Parliament John Amburu over misuse of public funds and the embezzlement of 27 million shillings of CDF kitty in Larry constituency. According to a statement by EACC, Claymark General Suppliers, Kenjaku Textiles and Uniform Suppliers, Rumuli Company Limited, Oshwan General Merchant, Oshland Greens Ventures, Ndemeki Company Limited, Kimondo and Sons General Suppliers, Pambazuko Distributors Limited, and Ndemeki Company Limited are some of the companies used in the embezzlement. Following investigations, the Director of Public Prosecution said he has enough evidence to prosecute the Larry Member of Parliament alongside 4 other officers for conspiracy to commit economic crime, unlawful acquisition of public property, conflict of interest, failure to comply with procurement guidelines, dealing with suspect property, acting without authorization, and failing to comply with written notice to provide information. The 5 are expected to be arraigned in court on Monday. And West Pokot Governor John Lonyangapuo appeared before the Senate County Public Accounts Committee to answer queries from the 2017-2018 financial year, though he was turned away since his financial report was signed by an unqualified certified public accountant. The Sam Ongeri-led committee gave Lonyangapuo 1 month to rectify the anomalies. Now Lonyangapuo, on the other hand, blamed clans politics to his woes, calling on Senate to intervene on such matters in the counties.
Person shall practice as an accountant unless he or she is the holder of a practicing certificate and a license to practice that is in force. So you know what that is. That is why, as a committee, when we retreated under the chair, we thought that we should not look at the consequences, but we understand the difficulties we have, but we should not countenance or we should not promote the practice of accounts without adhering to the Accountants Act.
You cannot practice as doctor, professor, PhD without being able to produce your professional certificate that indeed you are the holder of that PhD document. So under the circumstances, we find it's not feasible to continue, and admitting this discussion today until these documents have been certified by a fully and duly qualified member of the professional body. So we will encourage you time to be able to get somebody to specify and countersign these documents in conjunction with the Auditor Generals, so that they're also sure that this has been done.
And now in sports news, Athletics Kenya is undertaking a campaign to sensitize Kenya athletes on the need of honoring doping tests by the Athletics Integrity Unit. According to AK, Nairobi branch chairman Barnaba Kuriel, the self-imposed discipline will help tame the rising number of banned athletes in the country. Kenya's long-distance athlete Philip Cheruiyot Kangogo was on Thursday slapped with a 2-year ban by AIU for anti-doping violations.
So sasa ile kazi tunafanya sasa hivi ni kwamba tumeita wote kuongelesha na kufundisha wanariadha wetu wote kujua ile ya kupatiana whereabouts program ile ya World Athletics, kuhakikisha kwamba ile information wanapatiana ya ukweli, na wakipatiana sasa address yao lazima wawe hapo saa ile wanatakikana, na ni only wanao peke yake wanatakikana wawe hapo, si the whole day. Isia sasa kuwa mahali wamesema watakuwa kwa siku moja, tuseme saa 12 ya jioni awe hapo for 1 hour, baada hiyo wanaenda kufanya kazi yao. So we want to tell them that they should take it seriously, not to take it for granted that is something simple, but then that simple thing can put them in trouble.
And the Mercedes-Benz team have showcased their preparedness ahead of the 2020 7 weekend. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your night. My name is Mombi Chege. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Anne Wairimo. Have a blessed night.